Buckle up, heroes. Here are 10 moments when superheroes in Marvel and DC Comics sacrificed themselves to save the world. Barry Allen's selfish sacrifice during Crisis on Infinite Earths is not just a pivotal moment for the character, but instead it's a cornerstone of DC Comics history. This changed everything. When the Anti-Monitor prepared to fire his antimatter cannon, threatening of course to obliterate the multiverse, Barry realized there was no one else who could stop it. Drawing on his connection to the Speed Force, Barry pushed himself to run faster than ever before, creating a destructive energy surge that disrupted the cannon. Now the strain of this act was immense, causing his physical body to literally disintegrate into pure energy. Readers were left feeling a little odd and sad as Barry, a character who had been a pillar of DC's universe since 1956, all of a sudden disappeared in a blaze of heroic glory. So for years, his absence was deeply felt. As Wally West, his protege, took up the mantle of the Flash, Barry's return in Final Crisis was obviously met with celebration, but his ultimate sacrifice in Crisis on Infinite Earths remains one of the most iconic and enduring examples of a hero's willingness to put the fate of others above his own life. Guy ran so fast he blew up, that's crazy. Jean Grey's story as the Phoenix is a timeless tale of power, responsibility, and sacrifice. After bonding with the Phoenix Force, Jean's abilities grew to godlike proportions, but the immense power proved too much for her to control. Her descent into the Dark Phoenix, a being capable of destroying entire planets, then forced the X-Men into an impossible position. The Shi'ar Imperial Guard, recognizing the Phoenix as a galactic threat, sought to eliminate Jean. In a desperate bid to protect her friends in the galaxy, Jean took matters into her own hands. On the moon, she activated an ancient Kree weapon to ultimately end her life, ensuring the Phoenix Force could no longer harm anyone. Her passing marked the culmination of the Dark Phoenix saga, widely regarded as one of Marvel's greatest storylines. Jean's sacrifice was not only a heartbreaking moment for her teammates, but also a profound commentary on the cost of wielding immense power. You can't have it all, people. Superman's fight against the monstrous Doomsday remains one of the most defining and emotional moments in comic book history. As Doomsday tore through Metropolis, leaving a path of destruction in its wake, Superman confronted him in a battle that shook the entire DC universe. Now, despite his unparalleled strength and resilience, Superman realized that stopping Doomsday would require more than just brute force this time. This time, it would take his life. In a brutal showdown, both combatants unleashed devastating blows, culminating in a final strike that left them both gone. Superman's lifeless body, cradled by Lois Lane amidst the rubble, became an enduring image of loss and heroism. The story transcended comics, sparking widespread media attention and became a cultural phenomenon. We actually saw something similar in Batman vs Superman. That's how good it was. While some criticized his eventual resurrection, the emotional weight of Superman's sacrifice and his willingness to give everything for us, humanity, remains a testament to his character, an enduring example of the power of hope. I wonder if we'll see something similar in James Gunn's Superman movie. During the apocalyptic events of Fear itself, Earth faced its greatest peril, the Asgardian serpent, Kol, whose return threatened to plunge the world into chaos. Now, Steve Rogers, as Captain America, stepped forward in a moment of unparalleled bravery. When Thor was incapacitated, Steve took up Mjolnir, Thor's enchanted hammer, to continue the fight against the serpent. Though he's just a mortal man, Steve's unyielding resolve made him a match for even godlike forces. In this climactic battle, Steve pushed himself beyond his physical limits, ultimately succumbing to the overwhelming odds. His passing, while temporary in comics, highlighted the essence of Captain America's character, a man who would face impossible odds and make the ultimate sacrifice for the greater good. The moment resonated deeply with readers, showcasing Steve's indomitable spirit and unshakable commitment to protecting humanity, no matter the cost. Hal Jordan's story in Final Night is a tale of redemption and heroism. Once one of the greatest Green Lanterns, Hal fell from grace after becoming the fear-empowered villain Parallax. However, when the Sun Eater extinguished Earth's sun, plunging the planet, of course, into freezing darkness, Hal saw a chance to atone for his past sins. Harnessing the immense power of Parallax, Hal reignited the sun by merging with it, a move that cost him his life. Now, this act of selflessness redeemed him in the eyes of fans and his fellow heroes, marking a return to the ideals that had once defined him. Though Hal was resurrected years later in Green Lantern Rebirth, his sacrifice in Final Night remains one of the most defining moments. A powerful reminder of the lengths a real hero will go for the redemption of the greater good. This guy powered up the sun. That's pretty good. In the Ragnarok storyline, Thor uncovered a grim truth. Asgard was trapped in an eternal cycle of destruction and rebirth orchestrated by higher powers for their own amusement. This revelation pushed Thor to make an unthinkable decision. To free his people from this endless loop, he allowed himself and all of Asgard to perish during the final climactic battle of Ragnarok. This sacrifice wasn't just about about defeating the enemies of Asgard, it was about breaking the chains of fate itself. Thor's willingness to embrace his own demise just to secure freedom for his people, of course, elevated his character to new heights. Fans praised the storyline for its philosophical depths and ties to Norse mythology. While Thor would later return, this moment stands as one of his greatest acts of heroism, cementing his legacy as a protector not just of Asgard, but the concept of free will itself. Peter Parker's story in the Ultimate Marvel Universe ended in a moment of pure heroism and heartbreak. Gravely injured after a battle with the Green Goblin, Peter fought hard to protect Aunt May and the citizens of New York. It was a big, tough battle. Now, despite his wounds, Peter refused to back down, demonstrating the unyielding resolve that had defined him since the day he became Spider-Man. In his final moments, Peter found solace in the fact that he had saved the people that he cared about the most. His passing left a lasting impact on fans who praised the story for capturing the core of Spider-Man's entire existence, right? With great power comes great responsibility. Peter's sacrifice paved the way for Miles Morales to carry on his legacy. Tony Stark's ultimate sacrifice during the Iron Man 2020 arc was the culmination of his journey from a self-centered billionaire to a selfless hero. Confronted by an AI uprising threatening humanity, Tony faced an existential crisis about his own identity. Was he more machine than man? More man than machine? What am I? In his final act, Tony embraced his humanity, sacrificing himself to shut down the rebellion and save countless lives. The moment resonated deeply with fans, encapsulating Tony's growth as a character. While some debated the arc, the emotional weight of Tony's decision and his willingness to give everything for the greater good did cement his status as one of Marvel's most complex and compelling heroes. He also snapped the gauntlet in Avengers Endgame that brought everyone back to life, so he's doing a lot. When Darkseid unleashed the anti-life equation, enslaving minds across the universe, Batman made a fateful decision, breaking his long-standing vow against taking another life. Bruce used a radiation projectile to fatally wound the tyrant. However, the act came at a great cost. Darkseid hit Bruce with the Omega Sanction, seemingly ending his life at the same time. Though later revealed to be trapped in time, the moment resonated with fans as a testament to Batman's unwavering resolve. He broke his only rule to save the day. That's pretty big. This act of ultimate defiance against the impossible odds showcased the Dark Knight's willingness to sacrifice himself for the greater good, cementing his legacy now as a hero who would stop at nothing to protect others, including his own rule. We have the Flash again, saving the day once more. Wally West's sacrifice during Heroes in Crisis is one of the most emotionally charged moments in modern DC history. It's pretty crazy. Racked with guilt over a tragedy that he accidentally caused, Wally used the Speed Force to go back and undo the damage, effectively giving his life to save others. Now, this act of redemption was both heartbreaking, but also, of course, it was inspiring, showcasing Wally's deep sense of responsibility and his willingness to face the consequences of his own actions, in whatever superhero way you want to do that. Though the storyline divided fans at first, Wally's sacrifice remains a reminder of the humanity that underpins even the greatest heroes. And it turns out, some problems you can run away from.
Number 10, Nightwing. This is one I'll always remember because it has become iconic for me in regards to the current run of Nightwing. In the ongoing Nightwing series, which is currently, at the time of this recording, being written by Tom Taylor with art mainly by Bruno Redondo, we follow Nightwing as he continues to be the protector of Bloodhaven. However, after Alfred's death, he's no longer struggling in the same way financially as we're kinda used to seeing him do, having inherited a fortune from one of his adoptive father figures, Alfred. A fortune that Alfred built, maintained, and seemingly sat on for years. What does Dick Grayson do with this new wealth? Does he build a Batcave like his adoptive father Bruce Wayne would? No. He chooses to basically use his wealth to fix the actual infrastructure of the city he's sworn to protect. Or at least, he does his best to. Although, and I know Bruce would agree with me on this, Batman could learn a thing or two from Nightwing's approach to heroics. And friends, before we move on to our next spot on this list, if you love what we do here at Top 10 Nerd, why not subscribe so you don't miss out on any of our awesome content? Get a little notification, and click on it, you can come, you can comment, say hi every time we're talking about cool stuff, like sacrifice. Number 9. Thor. Thor has sacrificed himself a few times in the comics, but one of the times that stuck with me the most was when, even knowing the likely outcome of his fate, he chose to put his life on the line. He did this during the Fear Itself event when he was tasked with taking on his uncle called Borson, aka the Serpent. His uncle was the god of fear, who used to be the Allfather before his dad, Odin, stepped in. Odin knew that Kull was destined to kill his son, and so he attempted to prevent the two from fighting, even considering kinda just letting Midgard burn return when Kull reappeared on planet Earth. However, in the end, even knowing this prophecy existed, Thor did face his uncle and won, saving all of Midgard, but sadly, the prophecy could not be beat, and it did end up costing him his life. Number 8. Batman. Although one of the greatest sacrifices that is burned into my memory from Batman comes to us from the Dark Knight trilogy, when he seemingly gives his life to save Gotham, this wouldn't actually end up being real. So I was like, I guess I can't really count that. He gave up having people think he's alive. Really, he got out but faked his death so he could take a little, vacation time with Selina, aka Catwoman. In the comics though, one of the most memorable sacrifices Batman made was during his fight against Darkseid. Batman was the one to take him out with the Radion bullet. Doing so seemingly cost him his life, with him turning into a skeleton. However, we then also later learned that this corpse actually wasn't Bruce, and that Batman was instead kind of like thrown through time. Even when he's not trying to fake his death, kinda ends up getting faked, I guess. That's Batman for you. Number 7. Colossus. When it comes to curing the legacy virus, a lot of people think of Beast and Moira McTaggart's involvement, who were of course instrumental in helping to create the cure and get it out. However, a cure may have never even been possible for the mutants if not for the sacrifice of Colossus. Going through a really rough time and having just lost his sister to the legacy virus, Colossus volunteered to be the person to activate the cure in all mutants by taking the serum and activating his ability. Doing so saved everyone else, but cost Colossus his life. We don't hype Colossus enough on this channel, but here's to you, Piotr. What a memorable and heart-wrenching moment in comic book and mutant history. Number 6. Steve Trevor. Now, I'm not the biggest Steve Trevor fan when it comes to the comics, but honestly, Chris Pine has made me more of a fan in recent years. His portrayal of Steve Trevor in the first Wonder Woman film was charming and endearing, and it allowed me to see what Diana sees in him. Not that, she needs any man. I'm still a firm believer that Diana is kind of best when she's flying solo in the comics. Still, Steve sacrificing himself to blow up all the missiles at the end of the Wonder Woman film. Ugh, I felt that. I felt Wonder Woman's pain, and I definitely felt that moment where Steve is basically faced with making that choice and ultimately sacrifices himself to help Diana in her fight. His sacrifice in the film also couldn't come at a better time, as Diana was really struggling against Ares and basically losing in their one-on-one battle. But Steve's sacrifice gave Diana the emotion and the strength that she needed to rise up. I also love that for Wonder Woman, a lot of the times her emotions are seen as strengthening her, not weakening her. Part of what I love about her as a hero. Number 5. The Phoenix / Jean Grey / really just the Phoenix Force, thanks to retcons which allowed us to bring Jean back from the dead. Speaking of emotional heroes that get power from their emotion. The interesting thing about this heroic sacrifice is that initially we actually believed this to be Jean, and to be honest, while Jean doesn't get a lot of credit for the sacrificing herself to save the world from her own dark reflection part, she does get plenty of flack from the world in regards to her blowing up a sun and destroying a planet part of the story. Isn't that interesting? Well, initially Jean was shown as the one sacrificing herself after realizing that she would always end up being corrupted by the power of the Phoenix Force. We later learn that none of this was really Jean, but simply the Phoenix Force all its own, taking Jean's sort of physical form on, but also emulating her mentally and emotionally as well. So while Jean never really sacrificed herself in the Phoenix and Dark Phoenix saga, and was recovering in a pod beneath Jamaica Bay, in a weird way, the Phoenix sacrificing herself is kind of thanks to Jean, because that is what the Phoenix believed Jean would have done in its place. So Jean should also be able to kind of take the credit for that part too, really. If we're giving her the credit, for like basically destroying a planet, I think she should also get credit for trying to save everyone by sacrificing herself, when really she did neither of these things anyways. Number 4. Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is always the kind of hero willing to lay her life on the line. She would do so proudly, and even better, she also happens to be one of the most humble heroes around. She doesn't even need or want that recognition necessarily, she just does it because she believes it's the right thing to do. During Dark Knight's death metal, Diana was the one to rise up and temporarily become a cosmic level goddess. But after saving the multiverse from Batman Who Laughs, she was offered a place among some of the most powerful cosmic gods of all time. Surprisingly though, she refused, choosing to remain gone after her sacrifice, with the rest of the heroes believing her to be dead. Even past this point, after Diana went to Valhalla, she continued on her journey of protecting the multiverse without any of her friends even knowing about her adventures, as they all still believed her to be dead and gone at the time. Number 3. Spider-Man. Spider-Man has given up a lot over the years to fight as a hero and act as the friendly neighborhood protector of New York. One of his most memorable sacrifices, though, for me, comes from when he decided to give up his secret identity in the comics in order to help Tony promote the Superhero Registration Act and encourage other heroes to go public and sign up. This would end up backfiring tragically, putting a target on Spider-Man's back and the backs of those he loved. The other time that comes to mind for me is in the MCU in No Way Home, when Spider-Man kinda does the opposite, giving up his identity as Peter Parker in order to finish the spell Doctor Strange started and close the rifts between other worlds. In doing this, his identity is once more secret to everyone, but this also extends to even his closest friends and loved ones who basically no longer remember Peter. Number 2. The Flash. When the Anti-Monitor threatened to destroy all of reality, all that ended up standing between him and the end of all life in the DC multiverse as we know it was the Flash. Well, a bunch of other heroes were there too, but the Flash was really the one who managed to stop him ultimately. The most wild part of the story is that the Flash actually came out of essentially retirement to fight the Anti-Monitor and save the day. It took everything he had, and he ultimately gave his life to stop the villain, running so fast that in the end all that was left of him was his costume. That being said, of course, Barry would return eventually, but at the time when comic book deaths and returns were not as common as they are today, a lot of people really felt this one, so it stands out. Number 1. Havoc. This one always hits me in the feels. Did you know that the Wasp and Havoc once dated, got married, and even had a child together? Yep, but you probably won't see it brought up in the comics a lot because they don't necessarily both remember that this happened. It happened in a diverging and now erased timeline. While Havoc, aka Alex Summers, still remembers, Janet Van Dyne does not. And sadly, with this timeline being erased, the daughter they both shared, Katie Summers, possibly the cutest kid to have ever existed in Marvel Comics, also ceased to exist. This was what they had to give up though to save the world, and even more tragically, while Havoc does remember all of his sacrifice, his daughter and wife included, Janet doesn't even remember Katie or this relationship at all. It's gotta be terrible for Havoc. He's like got all those memories but like no one to talk to about it.
Today we are looking at the underdogs, the unexpected, the ones who proved everyone wrong. Today's video is for the unexpected superheroes who saved the world. DC's The Unexpected are up first because I have to look at their name. The Unexpected debuted in 2018. They are a ragtag group that don't really fit together, but somehow that makes them the perfect team. They united under Neon the Unknown, and their typical battles are against multiversal threats. The team is made up of Neon, Firebrand, Viking Judge, and Ascendant. They had their own series. It's about 8 issues long. It's called The Unexpected, and it came right after the Dark Knight's Metal crossover event. Next up, Megamind. Love Megamind, greatest superhero movie ever made. No one ever thought Megamind would save the world because, well, he spent most of his life trying to destroy it. That's just facts. But then he went on one heck of a hero journey and ended up the hero of the city. Did he cause the problem? Yes, but that is not the focus right now. Megamind had all the makings of being a hero from the start. Incredibly smart, a great inventor, immeasurable charm, a recognizable brand, an iconic look. He always had hero potential in him, but he got bullied as a child, which kicked off his villain arc instead. Honestly, I know that, like, spoiler, Metro Man decided to hide away and retire, but Megamind was still able to frequently hold his own against his universe's Superman equivalent, despite not having any superpowers other than, like, intelligence. That is a feat. Plus, he managed to create another one and then defeat him. Not only was it unexpected that Megamind proved brains can trump brawn, but also that he had the good in him to save the day. Up next, Deadpool. Sure, he has all the makings of being someone that could absolutely save the world, talented in combat, willing to do whatever it takes, healing factor, and yet he just doesn't seem like the world-saving type. The brash, violent, and unserious nature of the character makes it hard to believe he would ever be able to handle such an important task, you know what I mean? Like, if someone were to pull up with Superman, there's a sigh of relief. With Deadpool, fear, you're starting your will. Maybe there's some hiccups and destruction along the way, but he will get the job done. I mean, Deadpool and Wolverine was literally all about Deadpool saving his world and learning what it is to truly be a hero and Avenger. Batman, okay, from our perspective now, it makes sense that Batman could save the world, maybe even do it with his eyes closed. This is contingency plans, world's greatest detective, genius, billionaire Bruce Wayne that we're talking about, and maybe his crew of kids if he's looking for help. He can save the world because he's Batman, but that's from our perspective as readers. Imagine being boots on the ground civilian and thinking that all that stands between you and certain death is some guy dressed like a bat. The first time Batman is set to save the world, I'm sorry, but I would be nervous. He's just a regular human as far as I'm concerned. Thankfully though, Bruce has managed to make himself into like a sort of legend in most universes, so people do think he does have superpowers. I mean, take that one scene from Justice League War where Green Lantern literally goes, "Wait, you're not just some guy in a bat costume, right?" And Batman turns around smiling like that one Joe Biden meme.
You're not just some guy in a bat costume, are you?
That's the same video, and you cannot tell me otherwise. So yeah, the first time this human saves the world, it's unexpected, but like after the third time though, it's a good sign to see the bat on the front lines. Shifting in tone now, underdog. Remember in the intro when I said this video is for the underdogs, I meant that. Literally, I was introduced to underdog through the 2007 movie, but he originated in an animated show from the 60s. He is meant to be a parody of Superman, so he has pretty much all the powers Superman does, but he's a dog. He can talk, he's got super canine strength, he can regenerate, but like he's also invincible and invulnerable, and he can fly, that's the most important part. His backstory does differ from Superman's in the movie. Underdog was once a regular dog, but he was kidnapped by an evil scientist, and upon escaping the lab, he was exposed to a bunch of chemicals that altered his DNA. The scientist and his German shepherds are the villains of the movie. They set up a huge bomb with mind-controlling chemicals in a heavily populated area. That is the main conflict. But Underdog, without powers, as a retired bomb dog, he sniffs it out and then with powers takes out the mind control serum, so now it's just a bomb that explodes underground and launches Underdog into space. Everyone's really sad about that until he does like come back and vow to protect Central City as Underdog. This movie is a masterpiece of cinema and I will not take criticism on that. Miles Morales has saved or helped save the world quite a few times, which is impressive considering his age, but if we take into account the like movie lore, which is a little bit different from the comics, Miles was supposed to be a villain. He was supposed to become Prowler. It was an accident that he turned out a hero, he turned out Spider-Man. That's confirmed in the last shot of the second film installment, patiently waiting for a third when he like comes to face with himself as Prowler. It was unexpected, literally to the multiverse and hands of destiny, that he became a hero. I love the detail in Into the Spider-Verse when Miles meets Peter and his color scheme changes from the Prowler's green and purple to Spider-Man's blue and red. It's been described as the moment Miles' journey changes, and I couldn't agree more. But you know what, speaking of, up next, pretty much any young superhero or super team, what business do like teenagers have being on the front lines, the Teen Titans, like go do your homework? Ben 10 should not be fighting for his life at this age, like please let him rest. In real life, I get why having young people at the forefront of movies and TV fighting alongside kids' favorite heroes is a good thing. It makes kids engage with the content and gives them someone to relate to, keeps that demographic interested in the heroverse. But again, like imagine it's the aftermath of a brutal battle with intergalactic aliens and you find out the reason the world survived is because of some traffic light spandex clad boy that probably hasn't hit puberty yet, or some teen and her big red dinosaur. I would be shocked. Grateful, but shocked. G-Force, yes, we are talking about the guinea pigs again, because what business do guinea pigs have saving the world? What business does the FBI have in training a specially trained squad of guinea pigs that are dispatched to stop a diabolical billionaire from taking over the world? And that is the official plot synopsis, by the way. The story starts when the FBI got mad because an evil file from the diabolical billionaire that the G-Force grabbed turned out to be fake, so they decided the spy rodents weren't a necessary department, so they went to shut it down. But it wasn't a fake file, and it did contain the plans to cluster storm, aka global extinction. The plan was to make Earth's surface uninhabitable as revenge for the villain's family passing away. The infected hardware at the end of the movie all combines into this big evil robot, and so the guinea pigs and friends end up saving the day by placing a virus in the system, causing the robot to self-destruct, and the day is saved. Now, Who would agree to voice and or appear in cinema such as this? Bill Nye, Will Arnett, Zach Galifianakis, Nicolas Cage, Sam Rockwell, Jon Favreau, Penelope Cruz, Steve Buscemi, and Tracy Morgan. Who would expect those little rodents to be the world-saving type? But hey, that's the magic of Disney. Up next, I have to put the Power Rangers. Again, they're a group of people too young to be so good at what they are doing, and yet somehow they are saving the world on like a daily basis. Another reason they are on this list is because the way they sometimes fight and like the science of the world, it is a miracle they succeed without getting too banged up. There was a clip going around a while ago that actually inspired this point. It's from Power Rangers Dino Supercharge. The pink Power Ranger kicks a laser in half. Like, what's going on? That was unexpected, let me tell you. But anyways, the Power Rangers as a team made up of teens, they bicker and fight, but they always pull together when it matters. And finally, to bring us back to the content you would typically see on this page, Marvel's Loki. As the trickster god, Loki has done more harm to the world than good, at least at first. His MCU journey specifically is honestly kind of similar to Megamind's. They both started out as villains and then through a series of life lessons learned that they are capable of heroic acts. I mean, Loki didn't just save the world, he saved every world when he became the living temporal loom holding the multiverse together. Literally the ultimate sacrifice, and this was the guy that worked with Thanos and brought the Chitauri to Earth in the first Avengers movie. We love character development.